I mean, that's a disaster. I mean, Tom Aspinall still can't see. He's got a fucked up right eyeball still.
It's really bad, right?
The reality is he might not ever fight again. Like, who knows? Like, if he has surgery on his eye and it doesn't go well and he can't see out of the eye, apparently he's still fucked up in his right eye. There's some tendon damage or something. And, you know, eyes are so tricky, you never know. Unless you're a fucking complete psychopath like Michael Bisping, who fought 11 fights in the UFC blind in one eye, which is so crazy that he did that.
That's not what he says.
I did his podcast,
shit,
right? That's your buddy. I did his podcast.
That's my buddy, man. But he's so stupid, man.
What did he
This
say?
dude-
I did not see this.
Bro, let me put this dude, Josh, man. Josh gonna go up on. See, here's the problem. You know what? So Josh always talks to me about moving to Texas. Oh man, it's so nice in Texas. Problem with moving to Texas is you start believing in stuff that just.
The UFC heavyweight division is dead in the water. And if you think some feel-good story or hometown hero narrative is going to save it, you're living in a fantasy that's about to get brutally shattered. Because here's what nobody wants to admit, that rose-tinted optimism, that naive belief that location and dreams matter more than raw skill. It doesn't just lose fights. It ends careers before they even start.
True. It's just not true. Where did Josh Thompson hear that? Could you ever wonder why?
But, Daniel, did you see who ended up in the Epstein files?
Rogan, but that's not true.
Yes,
Rogan wasn't in. Rogan
No,
wasn't.
John
in
Jones.
Epstein.
John Jones.
You're a liar.
John Jones was his favorite fighter.
Bro, you're a liar, bro.
No bullshit. Go type it in.
Swear on everything.
Swear on everything. You know what? I'll try to send it to Luis right now because you can search them yourselves. Yeah, that's John Jones' favorite fighter.
Yeah, but that's.
Look, when you step into that octagon with even an ounce of that fairy tale thinking, you've already lost the psychological war. This isn't some motivational speech about believing in yourself. This is about the cold, unforgiving reality that the UFC doesn't care about your feelings, your backstory, or whatever narrative the media is pushing. It cares about one thing: who can deliver when the lights are brightest and the pressure is suffocating. And right now, the heavyweight division is failing that test spectacularly.
I was critical because I felt like you know he talked about it and then it just like kept on and kept on and kept on. And I felt like he should just kind of leave it alone and for a minute. And yeah, it sucks. And here's the thing: is he kind of accused Sorgan of cheating? And I'm actually curious to hear your opinion because of a specific opponent of yours. I feel like the ability to poke someone in the eye from space, like that's kind of hard. And if you could be that accurate, why wouldn't you just punch him in their eye?
The real issue plaguing this division runs deeper than bad matchmaking or inactive champions. We're talking about fighters who either can't control their own hands in life or death situations, or worse, they're deliberately using dirty tactics as weapons. Think about it: you're telling me a professional athlete at the pinnacle of their sport just accidentally finds their finger in an opponent's eye socket. At this elite level, where every movement is calculated and every strike carries championship implications. That's not an accident, that's a skill. A dirty, reputation-destroying skill that shatters the integrity of the entire fight.
In the octagon, and things are moving so fast, right? I was more inclined to believe that it was an accident. Tom Aspinall doesn't believe it. He thinks without a shadow of a doubt, Sorgan poked him in the eye on purpose. I don't believe it. But regardless of that, right? On purpose, on accident, he's still suffering long-term damage from this. How long does the UFC wait, though? Hey, Josh was wrong. I don't think that ask has been made yet. If the UFC wanted to, they could just make an interim title fight between someone else while the champion waits. Tom Aspinall fought last.
And here's where it gets absolutely wild. These eye pokes don't just affect the moment they happen. They create a psychological burden that forces opponents to fight completely differently. When Tom Aspinall steps into that cage knowing his opponent has a history of accidents, he's not just preparing for their striking or grappling. He's mentally preparing to protect his vision while trying to execute his game plan. That's not fighting, that's survival mode. And survival mode doesn't win championships.
This injury, it's like, why can't we get these guys together? And that's one of the things the UFC's been so good at, is putting the best athletes together in order to fight, and they didn't do that. Hey, I just dropped in the chat. Damn it, I'm gonna text you guys. I'm gonna text you the email from Epstein.
But wait, it gets worse. The UFC machine doesn't pause for sentimentality when an entire division is stalling out. They don't care if your injury was accidental or intentional. They only care if you can perform because that belt demands activity. If you can't defend it, they'll create an interim title fight without blinking. Your reign is officially on borrowed time the second doubt creeps into the narrative. And right now, the heavyweight division is drowning in doubt.
Emails. There's like 7 million emails. So it's an email from Jeffrey Epstein to someone else saying he wants to watch the John Jones fight. Too funny.
That's so funny. Amen. But I think that's a great point, honestly.
Yeah. It stinks.
I never thought of it like that. Because here's the deal. Heavyweight is struggling right now, man.
Big time.
Heavyweight is struggling right now. And I love the big boys. But it feels like when you look at the heavyweight division, Lou, throw the rankings in the chat.
Here's the kicker, the biggest names are strategically avoiding each other. When you have fighters terrified to risk their perfect records against established killers like John Jones, the entire title picture becomes a joke. Rankings become meaningless. The few desperate enough to actually step up and fight pay the brutal price while everyone else plays it safe. So are we watching a sport that demands the highest competition or just an expensive staring contest? Because lately it feels like the latter.
It was a bad fight. Him and his opponent got so fatigued. They looked like they weren't ready to fight. They also looked like they just they didn't look as skilled as we have seen fighters look recently.
The current heavyweight rankings are nothing more than a smoke screen hiding a crisis. We're not seeing evolving fight IQ or aggressive tactics from apex predators. Instead, we're getting static, predictable action that's killing fan engagement. When the biggest, most powerful men on the planet can't consistently deliver heart-stopping spectacle, what does that say about the entire ecosystem of combat sports? It's a systemic failure that's bleeding the division dry.
You need the best guys fighting to kind of wipe the bad performances.
And get this, we're talking about the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the pinnacle of mixed martial arts. So when fighters gas out halfway through a bout, looking completely lost like they've forgotten how to fight, that's not just a bad performance. That's a catastrophic breakdown in fight IQ precisely when it matters most. What you're witnessing is the brutal consequence of an unforgiving weight cut meeting the harsh reality of those bright lights. Dana White doesn't want excuses. He needs hungry killers ready to climb the rankings with relentless ambition.
Is that his name?
Waldo or Cortez Acosta.
Yeah, him.
Yes. But again, bro, he got beat. He's good, right? But he's lost fights. It's just not in a great place. Would you say that if you put Waldo Cortez Acosta in there with Cyril Gane or Tom Aspinall, he'd be competitive? Would you?
You're right. So he lost in August of 25 to Pavlovich, Pavlovich is ranked pretty high.
And Pavlovich got knocked out by Tom Aspinall.
Now listen to this part. There's an undeniable separation between the absolute best and everyone else. Simply being good isn't enough to survive in that octagon with elite heavyweights. Look at what happened with Curtis Blades, talented fighter, no doubt. But Pavlovich exposed that gap in championship readiness, and then Tom Aspinall dismantled Pavlovich in seconds. That's not just a skill difference. That's a gaping chasm that reveals the devastating consequences of not operating at razor-sharp peak performance.
Be competitive because he can move. Yeah. But Luis is the classic fan of fighting because everybody wants to write Cyril Gane off. And I don't know why.
Because he got choked by John too fast, that's why.
Yeah, but still, bro, you forget that he fought tooth and nail with Francis. You literally just sat up here right now and said the three best heavyweights in the world are John, Francis, and Tom Aspinall.
I do believe that to be the case, yes.
Cyril fought Francis Ngannou very well. Hey, a mistake cost Cyril Gane beating Francis Ngannou when he tried for the leg lock. So
hold up, if you're trying to write off someone after one loss, even against the greatest of all time, you're missing the bigger picture. Remember, this division has fighters who have pushed Francis Ngannou to the brink, who have shown championship-level pressure in the most crucial moments. One choke, even from the GOAT, doesn't completely unravel a career that's proven so much. But it does raise serious questions about the entire heavyweight hierarchy and what it takes to truly compete at this level.
John's talking about not fighting again. He's got arthritis or something. I agree. I don't know. Maybe we just throw Gable Stevenson in there. I've been saying that for a while.
You think but Gable needs time? John even said in the year Gable will be UFC champ. You don't think he needs a little more time than that?
I said throw him in there, so I'm not saying throw him in against number one, but I think he's got another fight coming up pretty quick. Put him in there. I don't know, easy. Hey, give him a couple easy ones, right? Then move him up to someone lower ranked.
Here's where people get it completely wrong. They talk about throwing prospects into the UFC like it's some charity league, advocating for easy fights and gentle ramp-ups. But do you seriously believe anyone in the top 15 heavyweight rankings is an easy fight? That soul-crushing championship pressure doesn't magically appear after a few soft touches. That naive thinking doesn't just lead to losses. It gets promising prospects utterly demolished, shattering careers before they begin. So here's the brutal truth that ties this all together. The heavyweight division isn't just struggling, it's actively bleeding out, and every true fan can feel that pulse fading. The octagon isn't just a fighting cage, it's an unforgiving mirror that reflects who's truly prepared and who possesses the fight IQ to survive. This persistent myth that being good enough for the UFC heavyweight division is achievable, it's a dangerous delusion. This sport demands an unshakable warrior's mindset, unwavering commitment to greatness, and indomitable will to be legendary. The question is, can this division find fighters willing to put everything on the line, or are we watching the slow death of what was once the most exciting weight class in combat sports? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the heavyweight division can recover, or is this the beginning of the end? If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening, smash that like button, subscribe for more hard-hitting MMA analysis, and hit the notification bell because the drama in this division is just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. But here's what's really eating away at the foundation of this division, the complete absence of killer instinct in crucial moments. We're watching heavyweights who possess all the physical tools, all the technical training, but when that championship moment arrives, when everything they've worked for hangs in the balance, they freeze. They hesitate. And in a division where one mistake can end your night in spectacular fashion, hesitation is a death sentence. You can't teach that primal hunger, that willingness to walk through hell for victory. Either you have it, or you become another cautionary tale. The most frustrating part? These fighters are getting paid millions to deliver performances that would get you cut from regional promotions. When Stipe Miocic looked completely lost against Jon Jones, that wasn't just a bad night at the office. That was a legendary heavyweight champion looking like he'd never seen a takedown before. The man who knocked out Daniel Cormier, who survived wars with Francis Ngannou, reduced to a shell of himself when it mattered most. That's not aging. That's a complete mental breakdown under the bright lights. And don't even get me started on the conditioning crisis plaguing this division. These are supposed to be the most elite athletes on the planet, yet we're watching heavyweight title fights where both men are gassed by round 2, throwing arm punches and praying for a lucky shot. Francis Ngannou literally won a heavyweight title by learning how to pace himself for more than 60 seconds. Think about that. The bar is so low that basic cardio management is now considered elite fight IQ. That's not championship level, that's embarrassing. Here's the part that should terrify every UFC executive. The heavyweight division used to be the crown jewel, the marquee attraction that sold pay-per-views and created legends. Now it's become a predictable snooze fest where fans are more excited about the walkouts than the actual fighting. When your heavyweight championship fights are putting audiences to sleep, you've lost the core essence of what makes combat sports compelling. Violence, drama, and unpredictability, 3 elements that are mysteriously absent from today's heavyweight landscape. But the real cancer destroying this division isn't just poor performances or inactive champions. It's the culture of entitlement that's infected these fighters. They want guaranteed title shots without earning them. They want easy money fights instead of proving themselves against killers. And they want respect they haven't earned through blood and sacrifice. When did we go from hungry lions fighting for scraps to entitled prima donnas demanding red carpet treatment? The octagon doesn't care about your feelings or your bank account. It only respects violence and victory. The Jon Jones situation perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with this division. Here's a man who's arguably the greatest mixed martial artist who ever lived, yet he's being accused of cherry-picking opponents and avoiding dangerous fights. Whether that's true or not, the fact that it's even a conversation shows how far the heavyweight division has fallen. When your reigning champion is more focused on legacy protection than legacy building, the entire division suffers. Champions should be hunting for the most dangerous fights possible, not calculating risk-reward ratios like accountants. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, the complete lack of depth in this division. After the top 5 heavyweights, the talent pool drops off a cliff so steep it's almost comical. We're talking about fighters who would struggle in regional promotions, getting fast-tracked to UFC main events, because there's literally nobody else available. When your division is so thin that 1 or 2 injuries can completely derail the entire title picture, you don't have a division, you have a desperate scramble for relevance. The training camps aren't helping either. Too many heavyweight fighters are surrounded by yes-men and enablers who tell them what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear. When Curtis Blades walked into that Pavlovich fight looking completely unprepared for the violence that was about to be unleashed, where was his coaching staff? Where were the sparring partners who should have been preparing him for that exact scenario? These camps are failing their fighters at the most crucial moments, and careers are being destroyed as a result. Here's something that will blow your mind. The heavyweight division has become so predictable that betting favorites are winning at historic rates. In a sport that's supposed to be defined by chaos and unpredictability, we can now accurately predict outcomes with frightening consistency. That's not evolution, that's stagnation. When the biggest, most powerful athletes in the world become boring and predictable, something is fundamentally broken in the system. Media isn't helping either. Instead of demanding better performances and holding fighters accountable, they're creating narratives around mediocrity and celebrating moral victories. When did we start applauding fighters for showing heart in devastating losses instead of demanding they actually win fights? This participation trophy mentality is poisoning the competitive spirit that once made the heavyweight division must-see television. Warriors don't want sympathy, they want respect earned through dominance. But here's where it gets really dark. The long-term brain damage concerns are creating a shadow over every heavyweight fight. These men are literally sacrificing their future cognitive function for our entertainment, yet we're not even getting entertaining fights in return. When fighters are taking massive amounts of damage in boring, technical grinding matches, everyone loses. The fighter's health suffers, the fans lose interest, and the sport's credibility takes another hit. The referee situation has become equally problematic. We're seeing stoppages that are either too early, robbing us of potential comebacks, or too late, allowing unnecessary damage to accumulate. When the officials can't even consistently apply the rules, how can we expect the fighters to perform at their best? Uncertainty breeds hesitation, and hesitation kills the aggressive, finish-seeking mentality that made this division legendary. And don't think the UFC brass isn't aware of this crisis. They're desperately trying to manufacture excitement through gimmicky matchmaking and manufactured beef between fighters who clearly have no genuine animosity toward each other. When you have to script drama because the natural competition isn't compelling enough, you've admitted defeat. The Octagon used to create its own stories through violence and skill. Now it needs a marketing team to make it interesting. The weight-cutting issues at heavyweight might seem less severe than other divisions, but they're creating their own unique problems. Fighters are either coming in soft and out of shape, or they're cutting unnecessary weight and compromising their power and durability. There's no consistency, no standard of professionalism that fans can rely on. When you never know which version of a fighter is going to show up, it's impossible to build meaningful storylines or create genuine investment in outcomes. The international talent pool that once fed fresh blood into this division has also dried up. Countries that used to produce heavyweight monsters are now focusing on lighter weight classes, where the competition is more dynamic and the money fights are more frequent. The heavyweight division has become a dead-end career path where even successful fighters struggle to build lasting legacies or secure their financial futures. Social media has made everything worse by giving these fighters platforms to build their brands without actually fighting. Why risk your health and career in a dangerous fight when you can make money posting workout videos and selling supplements? The incentive structure is completely backwards, rewarding self-promotion over actual competition. When fighters become more famous for their Twitter presence than their octagon performances, the sport has lost its way. The training methods haven't evolved either. While other divisions have embraced cutting-edge sports science, advanced analytics, and innovative training techniques, heavyweight camps are still stuck in the past. They're preparing for modern fights with outdated methods, then acting surprised when their fighters look lost against more technically advanced opponents. Evolution doesn't wait for anyone, and this division is being left behind. Here's the most damaging part the casual fans are starting to notice. These are the people who buy pay-per-views, attend live events, and drive the revenue that keeps this entire machine running. When they start changing the channel during heavyweight fights or choosing not to purchase cards headlined by heavyweight bouts, the economic consequences will force changes that should have happened years ago. Money talks louder than any criticism, and the money is starting to whisper warnings. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires a complete cultural shift within the division. Fighters need to start viewing every fight as a potential career-defining moment instead of just another payday. Coaches need to prioritize brutal honesty over comfortable lies. Promoters need to reward exciting fighters instead of safe, boring decision winners. And fans need to demand better instead of accepting mediocrity with polite applause. But here's the reality check that nobody wants to face. Some of these problems might be unfixable. The heavyweight division might have passed a point of no return where the systemic issues are too deeply embedded to correct. When an entire generation of fighters has been raised with the wrong priorities and incentives, changing course becomes exponentially more difficult. We might be witnessing the permanent decline of what was once the most exciting division in all of combat sports. The clock is ticking, and every boring decision victory, every uninspired performance, every missed opportunity to create something special brings us closer to a tipping point where casual fans abandon the division entirely. Once that happens, the downward spiral becomes impossible to reverse. Fighters will have even less incentive to take risks, promoters will invest less money in heavyweight fights, and the division will fade into irrelevance. So the question isn't whether the heavyweight division can be saved. It's whether anyone with the power to save it actually wants to do the hard work required. Because saving this division means admitting that everything they've been doing is wrong and starting over with a completely different philosophy. It means prioritizing violence over safety, excitement over predictability, and merit over marketability. Are they willing to make those sacrifices, or will they watch the heavyweight division die a slow, boring death? The next few years will give us our answer, and frankly, I'm not optimistic about what we're going to discover.